Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Josh Mansfield, a teacher with the Demon, and with me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of lsatdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Nate, our email today is from Lyla with the subject of anxiously trusting the process and what's possible for me.
Since I last wrote you in August and even had my question answered on the podcast, I've followed your advice and increased my accuracy range on time sections to consistently be 95 to 100% rather than 80 to 100%. Nice. This sounds
Great.
good. I'm shooting for a 175 plus after a cold diagnostic of 153 in June of 2024 so that I can go to a top law school with a near full ride. However, I have still not been able to crack 170, let alone consistently score above a 165. I have not found myself able to answer more than 59 questions in a prep test, though the accuracy will be about 95 to 97% total. I've seen the fruits of the Demon method of focusing on accuracy over completion, but I'm starting to worry that a 175 just isn't possible for me. How can it be taking this long? As cool of a test as the LSAT is, at this point it feels like a paid sword hanging over my head, and I want to be done. But I also don't want the money I've spent on prep to go to waste, or to have to go to a lower ranked school because I settled. Thank you for all your help. The Demon is a true game changer for LSAT prep. Best, Lyla. I just would start by saying, I'm glad you're taking our advice, Lyla. 95 to 100% accuracy means you're actually understanding the test in a way that 80% accuracy definitely does not.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're understanding 9 out of 10 questions, Lyla. And if you're at 95% accuracy, I think you're understanding 90% of the questions. When you were at 80% accuracy, I think you were only understanding like 60% of the questions. So you're actually doing the work now. And doing the work accurately is necessary because you're just not getting a 175 or higher with anything less, really. Anything less than 95% accuracy, you're just not getting a 175 anyway.
Mathematically, you can't do it. It's just, you're not going to do it.
You don't score 175 or higher by missing questions. That's just quite obvious. I mean, really,
right.
It should be quite obvious. What would you say? It sounds like Lila's discouraged. Would you offer some encouragement?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. The first of which is that Lyla needs to reframe how long she's been working on the LSAT. Because you notice she says in June of 2024. So to her, she's thinking, man, I've been studying for this test for a year and a half now. Right? And that's the number in her head. Lyla, up until August, you weren't doing it the right way though. And I don't want to discourage you further, but I want you instead to think about it as where were you and now where you are in 3 months difference, right? Because that's how long you've been doing the test right. And I want your clock to be, when did I start doing the test right and where am I going? And I think that shorter time frame is going to feel a lot more encouraging than the more spread out June to November, over the year and a half.
Well, yeah, she was potentially spinning her wheels for
exactly
14 months of that time, right? And she's only been following our advice since, for the last few months of that. So I think that's a good point.
So change your mindset there. The second is she talks about money a little bit and about the money she's spending on LSAT prep. You can go to lsat.link/disparity, and we'll link that in the show notes, where you can go look at the difference in the scholarships that you can earn based on your LSAT score. And the top school, Penn, for example, 6 LSAT points between their 25th percentile and their 75th percentile turns into up to $30,000 per LSAT point. I don't care if you study this test for 5 years. You're not going to spend 1 year's worth of tuition at these top law schools studying for the LSAT. And it's well worth it. I studied for 3 years. I am getting paid to go to law school. It was the best decision I ever made. And I mean, the other flip side is like, you're still making money, I would presume, right? You're working right now, I'd hope. I hope you're not just only studying for the test. Yeah. If you are, go get a job. But then at that point, I'm offering, like the trade that we are offering you is that in exchange for a 10-hour a week part-time job, we'll get you $250,000.
Yeah.
If anyone else has a different job besides the LSAT that can get me that kind of deal, like sign me up tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, 10 hours a week, even if it takes 3 years,
Right.
It's 10 hours a week for $250,000. That's 75,000 plus. That's 80 something thousand a year
Yeah.
for 10
For 10
hours a
hours a
week of your
week.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you subtract out the money you spend on, your LSAT Demon subscription, and
Sure.
we understand that that's not zero, but it works. The process works, and especially if you want to go to a top 14, especially if you want to get yourself a scholarship to a school in the
Mm-hmm.
top 14, it sounds like you probably do actually need this 175 if those are your actual goals. I might come at it from a slightly different angle. Josh
Okay.
isn't at top 14. Josh
I'm
is
not.
getting paid to go to
I
law
I
school.
turned down T14 schools.
Josh turned down T14 school so that he could go take a stipend at the school that he's at.
Yep.
And that's worthy of your consideration, Lyla, because, not everybody is going to score 175 or higher. And I think you could get there. It sounds like
Mm-hmm.
you've started focusing on accuracy. I think you're going to show steady improvement. That said, 175 is, the 99th percentile. It's high into the 99th percentile probably. And so, 1 out of 100 people are going to score that 175 or higher. And I think that if you did score, say, 170, you would probably be able to get yourself all kinds of great offers at schools, maybe barely in the T14, but certainly in the T25.
Mm-hmm.
Those schools that are knocking on the door trying to get into the T14, I mean, they're giving tons and tons of scholarship money to people with 170s.
and,
So,
and there and there are lots of those schools like that are regional powerhouses. So especially if you know where you want to practice, there's great schools in California, New York. You've got Georgia. I mean, there's schools all over the place that
mhm,
have regional pull and are just as successful at placing even in big law in that
mhm,
region that you
mhm,
could go to for free, or you could go to their much more expensive, much more difficult big brother who can send you nationally, but you might also be paying money to go there.
yeah. I would say don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I mean, you
Hmm.
do need to focus on accuracy. You need to stay committed to that. The second you let your accuracy slip, your overall score is going to slip worse than it is now.
Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't really make very much sense for you to be obsessing about 175 if you can't consistently score above a 165. So I think, your intermediate goals should be always score above 165 or get that first 170 that you've never been able to crack. And think slightly smaller because you need to keep the accuracy high, which means you can't start finishing sections all of a sudden. But the incremental progress, one more question right.
Hmm.
That's all you need to do. One more question right in each section. And if you can do that, I think you're going to be consistently 165 or higher. And I think you're probably going to start cracking 170.
I was gonna Nate, have you? And maybe this is too much of a like. I don't want to make a guarantee, but have you ever met somebody who's doing 95% accuracy on what'd she say 50, 60 questions who doesn't reach the 165 to 170 mark?
Um, Boy, I have a hard time thinking of somebody who doesn't eventually get there. I
Yeah.
think one one slight problem is that sometimes people kind of overestimate how accurate they really are,
Okay.
right? Like they'll say 95 to 100%, but
And it's
then
really
actually,
91 to
yeah,
87. Yeah.
right. And maybe they actually aren't ever 100% accurate.
Hmm.
Like I think you have to, Lila, sometimes be 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Like if you always miss at least one, you're definitely going too fast. You're not learning that all these questions can just be solved one after another. And so you got to, like 95 to 100 is not as good as 100.
Hmm. Hmm.
So stay
Yeah.
focused on not making any mistakes, and eventually you'll see regular scores above 165. Eventually you'll start to see those 170s. And yeah, we just think we think it's worth it. Eventually, at some point, you do have to start taking the official test. I guess eventually, at some point, you have to move on with your life. And if your practice tests are, where did she start? 153?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would settle for less than 170.
Yeah.
But if you get into the 170s and you want to start taking the test officially, while you continue to prep and use all your 5 attempts, eventually you'll end up with something 170 or higher, and something 170 or higher is going to get you all kinds of great offers.
Yep. Yeah.
So be grateful, I guess, for where you're at.
Anything else for Lyla?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Thanks, Lyla, for emailing in. Email daily at lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.